Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back to the KungFu Cup. Welcome back to the 2025 KungFu Cup monthly number 3, day 1. This is the November monthly, and we are halfway through the broadcast. We just wrapped up with our first 2 series, and we can catch up on the bracket itself to see where we are and where we are headed. Now, remember, this is a 5-day event. 5 days of StarCraft, a lot of matches, a lot of series ahead of us here. As you can see, we do have our initial quarterfinals. We do have Classic and Solo. Classic took down Solo 2-1 to face off against Cure in the next round, as Cure just took down Hero. So we have Cure and Classic in the upper bracket semis. Meanwhile, Solo and Hero get knocked down to the lower bracket. And that should be our next series after the current best of 3. We do have up next Reynor and GuMiho. Reynor versus GuMiho, they're going to be facing off in the best of 3. We also have Showtime and Mana. We're going to be covering them tomorrow. So Showtime versus Mana are going to be facing off tomorrow. Meanwhile, we have Reynor versus GuMiho, and we should have the lower bracket match of Solar and Hero. Now, also bearing in mind, those lower bracket matches are going to be best of 5s. Not best of 3s, but best of 5s instead. So longer and greater series, but otherwise we have our series. We have our best of 3. It's going to be a ZVT between Reynor and GuMiho, and I'm curious to see how GuMiho is looking as of late. If you've been watching StarCraft over the past couple of months, you would know that post EWC, GuMiho has been very inactive. GuMiho has been very, very inactive. He rarely competes. He rarely plays. He's a rare sight. As a result, he has been less in form. I will say that he's been less in form, but he's always a treat to watch, and we'll see how he compares to someone who's more actively playing, or at least lost in the rift. No. As spawning in the top right hand corner of Tourmaline, we have the South Green Terran player. We have the Red Terran. It is GuMiho. And spawning in the bottom left hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the Italian Zerg player, the Blue Zerg, representing Basilisk. It is Reynor. Here we go. Again, we got a lot of love for GuMiho. He's a very entertaining, very fun player to watch. Does love to incorporate mech whenever he can, and he often does come up with his own builds, goes for his own quirky timings and quirky styles. But again, as we mentioned, post EWC, he's been very inactive. He's been competing less, playing in less. So I do appreciate whenever we see him in a tournament like this, we get to experience at least some GuMiho. Let's go. Let us go. So now Reynor's going to be opening up, going for his own hatch gas pool. Standard opener here out of Reynor, and we'll see how GuMiho will approach this. Now, when it comes to the current meta here, of course, I will say that mech is now weaker than it once was, of course, with the change of the Cyclone. So GuMiho going to mech is going to be less viable. Now, we have seen some players have success with more traditional forms of mech, going into Hellion Tank instead of Battle Mech. There has been success with that depending on the map. Welcome to Tourmaline. We spoke about this in the last series, where Tourmaline is a very open map. It's very difficult to be defensive on, so we don't really expect to see a more defensive style. We expect to see something more aggressive out of our players, specifically out of GuMiho. We do expect that. From the side of Reynor, Muta play is more viable in ZVT nowadays, thanks to the buff to the mainling and to the buff to the Muta. So Ling Bang Muta is now something that we do see more often in ZVT. That is going to be on the table. We'll keep an eye on Reynor. So now we're getting to our openers. Reynor's setting up for his third base. Reaper does move out across the map. And so far, no one's been cutting any corners. Nothing's been crazy here. There's no early gases or early pool. Nothing really delayed. The one thing of note is that GuMiho didn't go for the SCV Scout. True. She did not SCV Scout. So just now getting a read on Reynor.
Additional supply depots required.
Let's GuMiho picks in. He does poke in. Does poke away. See in the chat, is this live? It should be a part of the stream title, but there's also a command in the chat. But this event is being casted by Replays. It is a couple of weeks old, if not last week. But this is the monthly November finals for KungFu Cup. There should be one for December as well, next month. Unfortunately, at the time, we weren't able to cast this live, as we were casting other events at the time, so I couldn't cover it live. That's too much StarCraft, baby. I remember, I think during the weekend, it was the weekend of was it the weekend of Stellarfest, where there were like 4 events happening at once? There was like Stellar Fest, there was KungFu Cup, I think Wardy was hosting his own tournament, and then there was Epic Land as well. There was a weekend with like 4 events all happening at the same time. It was crazy, man. It was crazy. No, too much StarCraft. Too much StarCraft. Now, GuMiho does reinforce. Looking for a way in. Does try to rush past. Lings, they try to keep up. So if I look down one of the Hellions, 2 of them do make it through. I say 2, really 1. Yeah, 1 Hellion makes it in, and so far this is not worth it. The dive here is going to be completely shut down, and not a single drone falls. This is not worth it here for GuMiho. He will lose map control, and Reynor can now freely expand, freely drone. So a very comfortable start for Reynor. He can drone up, he can saturate. GuMiho behind this going for a 1-1-1. A hyper aggression out of GuMiho going for a delayed 3rd TC. We've seen these builds punish overly greedy Zerg players, especially if they go gasless. But Reynor, he went for a standard opener himself, and GuMiho is going for the expansion, but a delayed 3rd base. So delayed 3rd TC by GuMiho, a much faster starport, much faster Banshee, much greater commitment into Hellion Banshee. Oh boy. As he lost 4, and he's still got 5 more Hellions behind this, making another pair of Hellions as well. I'm curious to see if we go into an armory with this, into a Hellbat push. But it feels like it's a little bit too late for that, just because we already lost 4 Hellions. Banshee picks in, 2 drones, Hellions, they dive into the mineral line. Reynor, he is keeping up. Reynor once again just punishing GuMiho, diving on the Hellions, getting 1, 2, 3 Hellion kills. And he's not done. Yeah, he's not done. He's going to keep pushing at the same time. Banshee across the map, does try to get more damage. Looking for more drones. So Reynor overextends. Banshee back into the main. Back into the main base behind this. I was curious if it was going to be mech. Yes. Now we see why there have been so many Hellions. Now we know why the 3rd base was so delayed. We are meching it up. Now we did touch on this previously about how battle mech is weaker in this patch. We have seen success with more traditional mech, but before talking about what kind of mech we get into, GuMiho has had a lot of losses. He's lost 6 Hellions so far. Hasn't really gotten much drone kills. The Banshee play has been lackluster. It's been a rough start for GuMiho. Now all it takes is for GuMiho to get into a mineral line with these Hellions, and he can equalize if not even take a lead. So GuMiho has been hyper aggressive, still looking for another opening. Looking for another dive. Heads for the 3rd, but the Queens are here. Yeah, the Queens are in position, the Lings, they do keep up. They come in for the surround. Oh! Yeah, they surround the army, they look down the Hellions, and another big loss for GuMiho. He's been throwing away too much. Too many losses, Pappy. Behind this, we have a Thor on the way. Okay. And he spots the Roach Warren. So, a bit of an odd choice here is Reynor. He's going into Roaches. The Thor should be the hard counter muta play, but as we can see at least, there are no mutas. Things they poke in. Again, GuMiho trying to keep up. And GuMiho, instead of going into battle mech, he's going to Hellion tank. Hellion tank Thor. As we mentioned before, like, it's less viable to go into Cyclones. But with all these losses, GuMiho, his 3rd base is going to be that much more exposed. So he bleeds out another Hellion. You may be thinking like, oh, but he's mainly throwing away Hellions. That's fine, right? It's like, that's the buffer. Like, that's meant to be the meat shield to protect the tanks. Are those Hellions? So without that Hellion support, the tank's going to be that much more exposed, and Reynor's push is going to be that much stronger. Oh, as we're taking it every which way, we have advanced servos, we have magfield accelerators. Reynor to get the pits, he's going into Swarm Host. True, Swarm Host play is more viable now. Bearing in mind that previously Swarm Hosts were difficult to make work because of the mobility of Battle Mech, but now that Battle Mech isn't really a thing, that means the Swarm Hosts are back on the table against Mech. just because the army is that much slower. The Terran player has that much less map control. And here come the Swarm hosts. They're waddling out. They waddle out across the map. We have 13, 15. 15 Swarm hosts. And we'll see what Reynor can get done with the first wave. We'll see if he goes for the economy or if he goes for the army. As there are some Hellbats in the back line. Queens are moving in. Reynor, he's droning up to 80. He's committing. As making nothing but roaches. Doors in position. Logos wave is diving on the tanks. And does get two. Yeah, 2 tanks go down. Roaches try to push in, but the tank line is stalled. But the Hellbats do defend. And GuMiho holds. GuMiho does hold on. This was a bit of a lackluster first Locust wave. He only got 2 tanks. Biles are, oh my god, grazing the army. Biles do graze. Queens are trying to hold their own. And we're waiting for the next Locust wave because something that we've been losing here are the Hellbats. Yeah, so many Hellbats going down. Oh, the Biles! Biles on away. Banshee falls as well. As Vikings did snipe the Overseers. No detection. He's going to zone away Reynor. The Banshees are popping off. They're getting a lot done. Wait, where's the Overseer? Okay, they're on the way. No speed. No Overlord speed, so late Overseers here. Overlord speed just now on the way. GuMiho, he's holding. Okay. He's holding on. Honestly, if it wasn't for those Banshees, then the Locust wave should have killed the remaining tanks. The Banshees do allow GuMiho to survive. Yeah, Locust wave once again diving on the tanks. Getting 1, getting up to 2. Oof, Plaza connecting. Locust wave is running out, getting a 3rd, 4th tank. So 4 tanks going down. Once again, just keeping the supply low for the Terran. And this forward base is so exposed. I'll be very impressed if GuMiho can maintain this position. This GuMiho is double expanding. Locust wave is ready. It's go time. Reynor, are we going for the planetary or are we going for the tanks again? Yeah, he's going for the planetary. Yeah, dives in. Planetary goes down instantly. Oh no, the tanks are done. They're stacked. Oh, they are stacked up. 3, 4 tanks going down. Yeah, GuMiho is stacked up, and Reynor, he's going for the kill. There's what, 2 siege tanks left, down to 1. 1 tank down to 0. And nothing is sieged. Again, GuMiho's 4th base is broken. Did re-expand towards the top side, but now Reynor can just rotate or just can keep pushing in. Remember, we spoke about this, but the area here in between all the bases is accessible to Reynor. Just break the 4th. And from here, he can push in towards the natural, the 3rd, or the 4th expansion. Reynor going for the 3rd. There's nothing here. GuMiho's out of position. I mean, he just has no supply to work with. As Reynor moves in, piles down another tank. Locust take it into the mineral line. Oof. They will kill everything. 13 SCVs go down. And again, there's just nothing left. There's just nothing here. GG gets called, and Reynor, he will take game number 1. GG. Whew, GG, well played, Reynor. He does overwhelm. Again, just a really shaky start for GuMiho. Winding it back as a reminder to what the build was, GuMiho went for a 1-1-1. He went for a 1-1-1 late 3rd base, had a GuMiho hyper-aggressive build, but he didn't achieve anything with the aggression. He was heavily reliant on Hellions. He went for a wave after wave of Hellions. I want to say he killed 3 drones with his Banshee harass, and he didn't kill any workers with his Hellions, and he was throwing so much away. And we spoke about it, because he was losing so many Hellions, it meant that his tanks were that much more exposed. It meant that he had that much of a weaker position at his own 3rd. And we saw that Reynor, he was free to drone up to 80, get into Swarm Host, and just break that 3rd base. Break the 3rd, trade well. GuMiho did survive thanks to his Banshees. True, he was able to survive, able to elongate that game, but only for a little bit longer. Only for a little bit longer, and with that, Reynor takes the lead in the series. Now we're loading into game number 2. Let's go. Here we go, and spawning in the top left-hand corner of Winter Madness, we do have the South Korean Terran player. We have the Red Terran representing himself, currently teamless. It is a GuMiho. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the blue Zerg player, the Italian Zerg representing Basilisk. It is Reynor. Here we go. As we are setting up, we are settling in. As a reminder, of course, Reynor, he is in South Korea, so there's no ping involved when it comes to Reynor series against GuMiho or against any of the Koreans. Is in Korea, and I believe he plans to stay in Korea for at least as long as RSL is taking place. RSL, for those that are unaware, there is an offline qualifier happening in December, happening on the 13th of December. So Reynor, he is in Korea to be a part of that event as well, to compete amongst all these Koreans, of course, and to take part in the RSL, in the qualifier at least. It's still going to be a difficult qualifier, is what I will say. It's not going to be easy. But Reynor is gearing up for it. So now Reynor just going for his own hatch gas pool, and welcome to Winter Madness. Now, I did not like the idea of GuMiho going into mech on Tourmaline because of how open it was. I mean, we spoke about it and we saw it come into play as well. Like, it's just so open. There are so few choke points. It is difficult to turtle up on Tourmaline. It is easier to turtle up here. Here, welcome to Winter Madness. We spoke about this previously, but there is a very narrow ramp coming into the natural, narrow ramp coming into the third base, and also a narrow entrance here in towards the fourth as well. I say narrow more so than some of these other maps like Ruby Rock, like Tourmaline, for example. Also, longer rush distance by ground. So if there was a map for GuMiho to turtle up and mech on, it would be Winter Madness. But I've said this before as well, I don't like the idea of going for the same style 2 games in a row. I feel like GuMiho did show his hand too soon, too quickly in Tourmaline. Again, I feel like Tourmaline was working against GuMiho as well, so it is a bit of a shame that he already revealed mech there instead of trying to fake his opponent out and trying to have Reynor second guess himself. The idea of going into mech 2 games in a row, I'm a little bit less fond of, but we'll see. We'll see what GuMiho goes for. He might just play Bio. As GuMiho pokes in, gets a Zergling, not bad. Sling pokes in, pokes out. And behind this, are we going for a third TC? We are. There we go, third TC's on the way. So as opposed to last game, this time we have a much more economic build here by GuMiho, going for a third TC before Starport. Remember last game, it was Starport before third TC. So much more economic, which makes sense on a larger map. Still going for the Starport follow-up. Now this can still lead into mech, of course. This is a very diverse and very versatile build, of course. This can lead into mech, can lead into bio. There's the add-on swap into Hellion production, as GuMiho does hunt down that first Overlord. The Reaper does intercept, and the Overlord is going to go down. Nice pick-off. GuMiho hunts down the Overlord. Now from here, GuMiho going for a Viking first. Very interesting. The purpose of the Viking is to hide his follow-up, is to go for a delayed tech lab, which means we could see a fusion core. That is an option. Slings, they're looking for a way in. No fusion core, goes for the add-on swap into delayed Banshees. Lings are getting to the mineral line, Hellions are out of position, and SCVs are going to be going down. Deny some mining, but nothing major. Okay. No major losses. Lings pull away. And GuMiho defends well. He defends well. That could have been so much worse. He landed the Viking, shut down the Lings. Reynor, he's going for roaches. And GuMiho, he throws down more factories. It's going to be mech. He's making it up. But this time in a more economic way. As GuMiho dives into the natural, this time Reynor's out of position, and drones are going to get roasted. Ooh, damage is finally being done. A much better start here for GuMiho. Gets 3 drones, but he doesn't get much more than that. He's trying to make his way through. A bit of an awkward engage. Ooh, the drones, they come back too soon. 5 drones. 5 drone kills, and oh, we are overextending. Yeah, GuMiho with the miss rally. But so far, this is a better start compared to last game. Remember last game, I think GuMiho lost 3 different waves of Hellions and he didn't get a single drone. This time, gets 5 with the first wave. As GuMiho is going for a faster armory, for faster upgrades. Building up into Battle Mech this time, okay. Going into Hellion Cyclone, so GuMiho is mixing it up. I will see if this is just like 2 safety Cyclones and then he switches into tanks, or if he does continue Cyclone production. Oh, he continues, okay. Going into Macfield. As we mentioned previously, this build and this style and this composition is weaker than what it once was. It is now easier to micro against and to break said lock-ons. It's not as oppressive as it once was. So we'll see what GuMiho can get done. For now, Reynor is droning, saturating, he can get up to, what, 4-base saturation. Droning up a little bit harder, if his H-bit is on the way. Bearing in mind that because it's going to be Battle Mech, going into Swarm Host is less viable, and the Battle Mech is revealed. Reynor knows. Reynor knows they should be going for a more mobile composition instead, going into Ling, Bane, Roach, Ravager. Yep, melee upgrades for the Ling Bane. Or at least for the Ling. GuMiho shocking around. We got the safety infestor on the way, that will help. Lock down the army to land those fungals. So far, Reynor is keeping up. It's keeping up, no major damage. GuMiho, who's at least maintaining map control and denying it creep, but with this, he can get a 4th CC up and running and build up into a greater economy. I will say that soon, GuMiho should be switching into tanks. I feel like staying on a Hellion Cyclone for too long is a bit of a trap that you don't want to be stuck in. But so far, he is committing. There we go. Tank production has begun, thankfully. So he's getting out of it. He's getting out of the Cyclones. As you mentioned, like the Hellion Cyclone does have a bit of a life expectancy. Like it does have an expiration date. As it does get outscaled. Oh, looks like there was a bit of a pause. So we are switching up into those tanks. So far, no major engagements yet. And we're getting ready for those fungals. Again, GuMiho has to be so careful with his movement here. He cannot get caught out. Having on the hatchery. That's forced to cancel. As we do have that fungal. Meanwhile, here comes out Ling Bane. Shuts down the first chunk of Cyclones. And again, GuMiho has to be so careful about pushing onto Kree. One fungal and he will lose the Cyclones. Speaking of, pushing quite far in. Oh. Toss avoid the Cyclone. Reynor behind this, getting ready for Broodlords. Spire's on the way. Hive is done. And GuMiho is being so aggressive with this here. I expected him to build up his tanks at home to turtle up, but no, he's pushing with them. So really nice setup here by GuMiho. As he will lose one tank. But this entire game he's been fighting for map control for this moment. This is it. This has to end the game. This has to break Reynor. As he's so committed. Reynor, he has to be patient. Catching some Hellbats. Hellbats go down. The siege line is not ready. Tank gets picked off as well. And not a bad fight here from Reynor. Okay, takes over the low ground. Shuts down the Hellbats. And GuMiho did overextend. Again, most of his tanks were on the high ground. They were not within range. Like, most of these tanks were not engaging whatsoever. Oof. Yeah, Fungal lands, goes for the neural, and GuMiho is just getting picked apart. Getting picked apart. Sniping the Banshees, sniping the Cyclones. Tanks are all exposed. Now there's no support, and every tank here should go down. Again, just really patient play by Reynor, and again, GuMiho getting impatient. Moved in too far, lost the tanks, lost the Cyclones, and Reynor can just rally. At this point, he can just rally in. Even going for the match neural. GG gets called, and Reynor, he will take the series 2-0, taking down GuMiho and advancing on to the next round. GG. Whew, GG, well played. Congratulations, Reynor. He will take the series. Winding it back again, GuMiho, I did like the build overall. Winding it back, he opened up with a Hellion Cyclone, and he was not overly aggressive. He was only denying creep. Only posturing in the center of the map, and did of course switch into his heavy tank count instead. And he pushed. He had a pretty terrifying army. But towards the end, when it came to that final fight, we did mention it, GuMiho, he had most of his tanks behind his army further back on the high ground, and I want to say only one tank was within range. Only one tank. He had one tank on the low ground that was unsieged. I think there was one tank on the ramp itself, so he was just too far forward. He engaged, he committed to a fight too far forward. Most of his tanks were not fighting whatsoever. And GG well played. He lost his buffer, he lost his battle mech, and then his regular mech as well. GG well played with that. Again, just really patient play by Reynor, just going for the most opportune engagements he could, and GuMiho just getting a little bit too excited and just overextending towards the end there. Getting a little bit impatient. GG well played. With that, we are now getting ready for our final series of the broadcast. We're getting ready for our PvZ Hero versus Solar best of 5. Let's go. The final series of the broadcast. Once again, as a reminder, Reynor, he will advance on to the upper bracket semifinals, where Reynor, he's waiting for the winner of Showtime and Mana. Waiting for the winner. Meanwhile, we are here in the lower bracket to determine who is going to be eliminated from the tournament. Who is out? Will it be Hero? Will it be Solar? Let's go.